Peter Martin.
Hey, what's up?
I'll tell you what's up. I'm excited about today's show because on today's show, we've got the guys from the One Song podcast joining us.
Oh, I love that podcast. You talking about with Diallo and Luxxury?
Exactly. It's a great show. Those guys have such cool names, Diallo and Luxxury, and we're sitting here with, just Peter and Adam. I thought
that's okay. Peter, Adam's okay.
It's all right, but I thought maybe today we can give ourselves some really cool nicknames,
Oh, okay, I got it. Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock.
It's a little on the nose. I like where your head's at, but it's a little too obvious. What about I'll be Riallo and you could be Top Shelf?
How about if I'm Top Gun and you're Cialis?
I don't think I want to be Cialis for this show.
Yeah.
No, but what if it's Maverick and Goose?
You know what? No. I think I'll be sure.
All right, that's good. Then I'll be Christopher Williams. How about that?
I'm dreaming.
I'm Adam Manis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music Explored.
Explored, brought to you today by Open Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com for all your jazz lesson needs. Peter, we say it every single week almost nowadays that it's a big day.
No, you know what? We're throwing out all those previous weeks where we said it's a big day. Because today, look at this. This is a big day.
We are so thrilled to be joined by Luxxury and Diallo from the incredible One Song podcast. We're such huge fans. Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks for having us. I think we're going to geek out.
Oh man, we've already been in here geeking out. We're going to go next level, right?
For sure. So this is kind of the second part of a coin where a couple of weeks ago we talked to the lovely gents from Switched On Pop about jazz musicians playing on popular recordings. We focused a lot on Robert Glasper, on Kendrick Lamar stuff, and
who? Sorry. Okay.
Bobby G. And but we, in that conversation, we said we should really talk, have a whole distinct episodes about samples. And we thought, well, who better to talk to about that than these two guys? So we're stoked. We're going to dive deep into some of our favorite examples of samples of jazz recordings used in hip hop. And honestly, there's so much to pick from. I was just saying before we started, this is the most full our illustrious iPad has ever been setting up for an episode.
That's right. We should have got the higher memory model, but that's for another discussion.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that, Adam, you're kind of putting the ground rules in, which is interesting because I think you're going to be the first one to stretch the ground rules. You said samples of jazz records.
Rules are meant to be broken.
In hip hop, right?
Come on, man. What are we doing?
I think Luxxury, Diallo, and myself all, we understood the assignment. So little foreshadowing there. We'll see if you did as well.
Well, maybe we can just start. I know this is going to seem very basic for you all, but let's talk about
jazz.
Well, I was going to actually say
easy.
How are we defining a sample, which is maybe a little bit more complicated than or less straightforward than it seems.
Yeah.
But how would you guys define a sample specifically used in hip hop?
Is this a trick question?
No, this is what I'm saying, right? It seems like,
reuse of recorded material in a new composition. That would be the technical, boring, dry definition. Diallo, give him some color commentary.
Oh, here we go.
Facts only.
Right. Black guy bringing the color. Check it out. I think what we want to say right off the bat is that we really adhere to the rules. We're talking samples for the most part. We're talking samples in the jazz field, and we're not talking about something that my host, a podcast friend, has talked a lot about, which is, do you want to say it?
Interpolation.
I knew it was coming.
I knew we were going to say. I was like, who's going to say it first?
This is not that episode. This is not that episode, guys.
This is not the interpolation episode. This is not the interpolation. So if you're sampling, Lonnie Smith, you're sampling Lonnie Smith. You're not having some guy come in and replay Lonnie Smith.
I mean, actually, that is where my dry definition comes in handy, because there are people for whom the distinction, they're unclear.
Right.
The difference between an interpolation and a sample is an interpolation is a replayed musical idea from another composition, from another song. A sample is you literally take a piece of the recording and you put it in to the new recording. Could be a sound, could be a loop. If you're in Jamaica, could be the entire rhythm, the entire track. But that's the main distinction between the two terms.
And it's interesting because sometimes interpolation, it's hard to tell that it's a re-recording of a familiar original recording. And sometimes a sample is hard to, as we're going to find out today, it's hard to pinpoint, wait, is that actually from that record? Because we know that producers and DJs will mess with the original sample, slowing it down, speeding it up, changing the pitch.
It's been so transformed from the original that it is a new sound, a new group of sounds, a new loop. I have a feeling that what's going to come up a lot today, besides genre porousness, which we've already alluded to, I don't think my pick kind of deserves to be called jazz, frankly, or excuse me, hip hop. When we get to it, my pick is the one that will be maligned collectively. Probably.
No, I disagree.
I love it so much. No, it's a
We
great.
were just psyching you out saying we were going to malign it.
I don't know that it's technically hip hop. I don't think it makes the cut.
I think it is absolutely hip hop.
Okay.
And if I have to go to bat for your sample, your example sample, I will.
Man,
I mean,
it's gonna
hip
get
hop
hot
light,
later. It's
is
gonna
that
get
a
hot.
term? Hip hop light? Because that would, we'll wait till we get there.
I mean, listen, I think let's, as I like to say, let's rip the Band-Aid off. In the early 90s specifically, there was this whole conversation about what is hip hop and what is not.
Yeah.
What you say, hammer, proper, rap is not pop. If you think that, then stop. You know, like there was a lot of gatekeeping going on, but I don't think that anybody would say, look, the jazz artists actually had the jazz artists who were sampled by US3 or Us3, they were excited to be like relevant and in the news again. I think that, there was something about the dude's flow and the fact that we didn't know him previously. If Q-Tip had jumped on that track, it would probably be considered one of the great hip hop songs of the 90s. So I think let's give them a little bit of slack. They were trying something different. Yeah. And we'll talk about it.
Well, now that we're here, I mean, we're kind of here. We've already dropped what it is. We were going to save it to the end.
I didn't mean to jump to the head.
No.
There.
I think now
let's keep it in order. Let's keep it in order.
All right, well, stay tuned to
Folks
the end
will
of
have
the episode
something to look
because
forward to.
it is very good. I guess we'll kick it off where we had planned to kick it off, which is Peter, your pick. You want to tell us what you picked and why you picked
I did.
it?
And I think we're going to go all around. So this is really, I'm excited to hear everybody's picks and takes and your guys' reactions to mine as well. But I was thinking about, jazz. There's so many great samples. But this idea of, and Bob James is famously the most sampled artist of all time. Of course, a lot of people don't necessarily look at him as a jazz pianist, but he's very much coming out of the jazz tradition. Herbie Hancock is up there, number 3. But a gentleman by the name of Lou Donaldson was the 6th most sampled, and a lot of
6. Who's compiling that?
I don't know.
Because
that was our production team. Let us know that.
That's down the list.
It is down the list. But the idea is this sample, and a lot of it is actually Idris Muhammad, who was an incredible drummer from New Orleans, 13th Ward. Shout out Uptown New Orleans. But he played with everybody with Bob James, Ahmad Jamal, Horace Silver, Betty Carter. But he also played with Sam Cooke, a lot of R&B drummers. But he brought that New Orleans flavor. So on Lou Donaldson's 1967 Blue Note record, Mr. Sling-a-Ling, this is Ode to Billy Joe. And it's become one of the most, this is the biggest part of the output of Lou Donaldson's sampled. And it's basically been used as a drum break, as a drum groove, as an underlying groove. It's been chopped up and everything, but check it out.
It's Dr. Lonnie Smith on the B3
I think so, yeah. But I mean, like, the precision of that groove with the snare drum, it's got the New Orleans street beat thing.
And it's on its own, which in especially early days makes it very easy to sample and get some clean sounds out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just the way, so this is an RVG, Rudy Van Gelder, great jazz. Friend of the pod? We're not sure. We're hoping he's
enemy of the pod, maybe. Yeah,
we've been a little bit hard on his piano sound, but he could record a drum, and apparently him and Idris were really tight. Idris loved the way he recorded, so a lot of this for sampling, of course, the engineering is a big part of it. But what Idris plays on here is just genius. So should we check out the first one? Maybe go to the most famous one.
Well, I think this is probably the most famous.
most of all, we at war with ourselves. God show me the way because the devil's trying to break them down. You know what the Midwest is? Young and restless.
Yeah. Almost the exact same tempo, too.
That's Kanye West, Jesus Walks from College Dropout.
Can I just say,
yeah,
given everything that's happened with this dude, the line "we're at war with ourselves" takes on such a different meaning now. He is absolutely projecting in such a outrageous way. Man, to quote Kanye, I miss the old Kanye. I remember,
dude.
I remember those days.
This whole album, College Dropout, is so interesting to listen to right now because you will get like it'll be like, oh my gosh, like what he said back then, and it's also makes you kind of sad because it was so incredible.
Yeah, it's so sad. It's like you lost a friend.
It is.
You know, anybody who's ever had a friend and the friendship got ruptured for some reason, you're just like, damn. Were we ever on the same page, or did we just think we were on the same page? I mean, like I'll say my favorite Kanye records are literally Late Registration and Graduation. I think that those two took what he started on College Dropout, and they took it to a whole nother level. The sampling, the looping, like, you know, but gosh, we're at war with ourselves. Now when I hear that line, I'm like, Kanye's at war with Kanye. And it's just sad.
Kanye was ahead of his time. But I
Major downer.
No. He was ahead of his time. He might have looped back around to now being behind the time somehow. But I mean, I think that those Diallo, like that's actually sort of, I've always felt like that's the trilogy, right? That's the sort of trident of Kanye.
That was the trilogy, yeah.
You know, absolutely.
And Graduation was when he permanently, you know, he famously, it was like, in Britpop, they had The Great Escape versus What's the Story, Morning Glory. And in hip hop, you know, like 2 albums that everybody's like, if you're a fan, go out and support your artist. And Graduation came out the same as some 50 Cent album, which I don't even remember the name of it. And Kanye beat him. And everybody was like, well, that's the passing of the torch. And it really was. It was, I feel like after that, 50 Cent was never sort of like the marquee artist that, you know, this new generation was becoming.
Right, for sure.
Well, speaking of marquee artists, the next artist that uses the Ode to Billy Joe sample with Idris Muhammad is another huge album here. It's so distinctive with that roll.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, this one they actually took out some of the the snares in between, but the rolls there.
This is, of course, Zion from Lauryn Hill's Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
And who produced that? Who produced Zion? Who produced that song?
I don't know.
Do we know?
We don't have that information in front of us.
We don't have that. Our Wi-Fi is off. We don't know what happened.
Well, I mean, there's a connective tissue right there. I'm seeing that it looks like it was produced by Lauryn Hill, who actually gave a production credit to Che Guevara.
Oh, nice.
I didn't realize he was that busy in the studio. No, what's crazy is that, you know, think about Kanye's very first All Falls Down is a sample of Lauryn Hill. So he was clearly digesting not just Lauryn's vocals, but like some of her production. So he might have actually heard that drum on Miseducation.
Yeah.
And thought, oh, I'm going to put that onto Jesus Walks.
See, this guy's this is real podcasting.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's amazing.
Can we talk about sharp 11, sharp 9 chords here? I'm getting nervous, man.
We've got just two more here from the Ode to Billy Joe real quick. I didn't know that this was it at all. I remember this song.
When they say
it's Eminem from the Marshall Mathers LP.
Believe that it's over, here we go all over again. Backs to the wall, I'm stacking up all the mods. Toilets clogged, yeah, cause I'm talking a lot of shit, but I'm backing it all up. But in my head, there's a voice in the back, and it hollers after the
that distinctive.
It's that press roll, right?
Yeah,
and then a press roll, you know, it's almost like that New Orleans, like a tambourine, you know.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And then Peter, you pulled this one out, man. I don't know where you got this.
Well, this was on my mind. I actually didn't remember this, but I just saw the Spike Lee Denzel Washington movie. A$AP Rocky, of course, is in that.
Oh, yeah.
And when I saw his name pop up as a possible samplee of this.
So this is LSD, Love, Sex, and Dreams.
Yeah, not the drugs.
It started in Hollywood,
there it is. There's the press roll. Yeah. So here's the stem of this, just to hear the drums. Slowed down.
He chopped and screwed it. He chopped and screwed up those Lou Donaldson.
Yeah. And I mean, that one, even like the whole thing of like that groove, like,
say it one more time.
It's such a foundational.
The original here. Now, before we leave this one, actually, before we started, Diallo, you pointed out that that organ hit is actually sampled in this Liquid song from
The Alcoholics.
We
loved the name of that group. We thought they were the best.
Name of the album is 21 and Over.
Classic.
There it is. There's the hit. So good.
That's some good stuff, man. That's some real good stuff.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, all right. Next up, we're going to go with some of Diallo's picks here. So, Diallo, you started with the Heath Brothers, the Smilin' Billy Sweet Part 2. You want to tell us about that one?
Yeah, the Heath Brothers, American jazz group out of, I think they were out of Philly. And, you know, they're just one of those groups. I feel like, you know, jazz and hip hop were so symbiotic in the early 90s because I think that, you know, the rappers were listening to what their parents were listening to, and specifically East Coast rappers, you know, the guys like Q-Tip and Premier and Pete Rock, you know, you got the sense that they were definitely listening to the soul and the funk of the 70s, but like their parents had dope record collections because they were also hearing, you know, everything from Bobby Humphrey to this song that we're going to hear from the Heath Brothers. This song in particular, I really like because it's been picked over. It's like bison in, you know, Native American culture. Like it's been picked over. Every single part of this song at some point has been used in somebody's great hip hop classic.
Yeah.
So I think that, when I think about some of my favorite sampling, this one tends to come up because I just hear so many songs that have used various parts of it.
And at least this first part of it too is so easy to spot because it's so distinctive sounding that you can hear it fairly easily. Here's the right from the beginning. You getting your thumb piano? What are you reaching for?
No.
So
watch this. Here comes one more part. Let this part play.
Hold on. Sorry. I got you.
Because it was about to go to the next sample. Yeah, watch this. Just keep this in the back of your head. All right, here it comes. Watch.
Laid back.
Okay, now you can kill it.
So that's Jimmy Percy and Tootie Heath, the Heath Brothers, Smilin' Billy Sweet Part 2.
Before you play, I just want to say, like, this is such an interesting thing to me because I actually got a chance to play with Jimmy Heath when he was still around. You know, amazing saxophonist, and then Percy was the bass player. I mean, I used to transcribe his bass lines from Miles Davis records in the 50s and stuff. And Tootie, of course, legendary. Like, this is so atypical to the stuff that they were known for.
A lot of the stuff we're listening to today is the atypical cut on the jazz album.
Yeah, and I think it's such a, like you talked about the connection between hip hop with a lot
jazz.
of these, and jazz from, you know, your parents listening to it and then cutting up the records, you know, crate diving and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's such it's maybe a little bit of an untold story about how hip hop, especially producers that are able to find these gems. They're not going to like the most popular Heath Brothers stuff. You know what I mean? They finding these little gems. They're looking for something. They're not looking to say, oh, we took this Miles Davis Kind of Blue and sampled it. That's actually not sampled that much. You know, it's the other stuff.
No.
It's super interesting.
Okay, can I just ask a question? Because this is one reason why I love doing the podcast with Luxury. Because it sounds like I always say I'm dumb in the sense that like my public school education failed me. I other than the drums, I don't really play a whole lot of instruments. So sometimes, Blake, can you tell me, like, do you know what instrument that is? Because it sounds to me like vibes. It sounds like Roy Ayers style vibraphone. But it also sounds like Peter and Adam. It sounds like you guys already know the answer to this.
Yeah, I'll let you guys answer if you already know.
I mean, I have some of these, but it sounds like this African instrument that's this half gourd shaped, and then these metal tines. It's called a thumb piano or a kalimba, sometimes call it. They get very big or they get very, very small, but that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
To me too. I think we talked. There was an Earth, Wind, and Fire episode. I think we alluded to Maurice playing that on one of his.
Oh, nice.
Ramsey Lewis tunes, I think, something like that. Yeah.
They are murder to tune. If you've ever had to tune one, you need like pliers.
Yeah, because you have to
Band-Aids.
adjust
Yeah.
Yes, my father had a kalimba, and I used to fool around on it. But my father was part of this like collective of black artists in Atlanta called the Neighborhood Art Center, and so my house was literally it was a bunch of like congos and kalimbas everywhere, and that was those were the. But I remember, you used to have to like take a thing and just bend it. It was very. You
gotta pull it in and out of where it's attached to the cord.
Yeah, because the length of the thing would
I have not thought about that in 100 years.
But the sort of the sort of imperfect tuning is actually the sound of it. Actually, let's check out the Heath Brothers one more time before we put the samples in our ears.
And that's Stanley Cowell, a great jazz pianist and kalimbist.
I really love.
Now that I know what instrument that is, I love it even more.
Yeah. Oh, and also just to Diallo, to your point, raise your hand if you went to public school.
Hey.
Just so we know where we're all at.
Come on.
Okay, Blake, so we're going to need some corrections and some check-ins from you. Sorry.
At least I'm spelling.
So make me smart.
Let's go with probably the most well-known, well, maybe the most well-known version. This is Nas' One Love.
Alphabetmatic.
Got 6 minutes on that jack kid, shit is real.
There it is.
Yo, check this shit out, man.
Hey, yo, go, give me a cigarette, man.
Yo, here you go. Yo, check it out, man. Check out what I got here, man.
What is that? What's that?
Yo, it's a letter I got from my man Nas.
Here it comes, guys. It's already in there, but here it comes for real.
What up, kid? I know shit is rough doing your bid. When the cops came, you should have slid to my crib. Fuck it, black, no time for looking back is done. Plus, congratulations, you know you got a son.
I heard you had a son.
Like you. Why don't your lady write
Why don't your lady write you?
That's when she got hyper, flipping, talking about he acts too rough. He didn't listen.
I listened to that whole thing. That's from 1994's Illmatic, of course.
That was such a breakthrough.
It's so
album,
hard.
man.
It's so hard to even cut a Nas verse in that period short because he's telling a whole story.
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
it's just, Shorty don't care. She's a snake too, running with that fake crew that hates you. Like, he paints such vivid pictures on Illmatic. It's crazy.
I really love the use of that sample in that track too, because they're like pumping it in and out.
Yeah.
They're keeping the producers keeping like
it's Q-Tip. Q-Tip produced it.
Q-Tip produced it. So the piano chords are in there like that. I don't think a lot of producers would have kept in there.
It almost sounds like
I don't hear any, by the way, saxophone in there. Did you? I didn't hear any saxophone.
I don't think so.
Here either. Yeah.
That's Jimmy Heath's main instrument is sax.
Yep.
You're right.
The bass
you know
is
why?
for sure.
Because part of my obsession, and if you listen to our show, you've heard me talk about this especially with sampling, is when there's a disconnect between what you hear used in a sample, like literally the performances in the section that was used, and then who's actually been paid, who gets the songwriting credit,
right,
and therefore who had to clear it. Only because like I've just been going down the rabbit hole as we've been listening on this tune, and so James Heath is the only Heath of the Heath brothers who was a writer of the Smilin' Billy, the original tune. He's the sole. He gets 100% of the publishing on that. Therefore, when it gets sampled in the song we just heard, he gets 60% of One Love.
Wow.
And his brothers, who I think we're hearing, I don't think we're hearing.
We're not hearing Jimmy.
Sax.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think we're hearing. I think we're hearing what I've been calling like sample phantoms. Like you hear their performance, but they aren't named and they aren't paid.
Yeah.
And I think in this tune, maybe it's 2D Heath on drums, as you mentioned. It might be pianist Stanley Cowell, I see listed. The Heath brother named Percy, again, not a writer. So that to me, it drives me crazy. Like there's such a huge disconnect in copyright law with sampling between who may have gotten paid for publishing reasons back in the day, but sampling didn't exist yet. And then fast forward to the modern day where the reuse completely is based on a completely different system than when the song first came out, and it didn't matter.
Let's connect that to Nas, right? Because we talked about that on a Nas song that sampled a Sting song
Right.
But the part that Nas sampled has nothing to do with Sting. Like Sting didn't write it, he didn't play it, but Sting, like Steely Dan, likes his publishing, and so he gets all the money. And the guy who Nas actually sampled, that artist, sort of kept out of that.
It happens way too often, borderline more often than not, in fact, with sampling. But go on,
I was just going to say real quick, also Mtume used to play percussion with the Heath brothers. So
that might be him playing the plucky.
That might be him playing the kalimba.
Right.
We don't know. And then Mtume, for those who don't know, did Juicy Fruit, which was sampled by Biggie for Juicy.
This is this is right here.
The same folks.
Yeah.
This is my next thing. Did you know that?
And that's Jimmy Heath's son.
Did you know that Mtume is also Jimmy Heath's son?
What?
Yes, that's right.
I did not know that.
James Mtume. Yeah. another Heath brother.
That part I didn't know.
And I mean, Jimmy Heath was like, I mean, he only passed a few years, I want to say within the last 4 or 5 years.
What?
Yeah, but I mean, this was a son he had when he was like 19 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he lived to be 93.
wow.
Yeah, he was.
Okay,
he was the last one, and he was kicking it. I mean, I saw him at a jazz festival. I feel like last year, but it was probably 6 years ago.
Probably 6 years ago, I was going to say. But it's a great point, Luxury, about who's playing what and what is the sample actually built from. And because, I mean, even your Ode to Billy Joe with Lou Donaldson, it's all Idris Muhammad, and Bernard Purdy's famously is on.
But Bobby Gentry, or Gentry, however you say her name, is the sole publisher of that song. Right. So every song you heard the drum beat in, Bobby Gentry's not a state, she's still alive.
Guys, did we
and
just...
the thing is with jazz, and I mean, even up to this day, this is such a different thing. Like you were saying, like how it's like, it was only one of them had the songwriting credit on that, Jimmy Heath. That was not only but still is super common in jazz. It's like very rare. We're always in the studio collaborating on stuff, but only one person takes the publishing. You know why? Because we're dumb.
The band leader credit.
Yeah, the band leader, because we're dumb and we want to stay poor. That's the jazz musicians.
Well, wait, why is that between the two of you? Why don't you have a 50-50 split? I don't mean to say
that's a great question.
That's a good question. That's why we're going to have you guys back to have that discussion.
Guys, did we just start?
No, but I mean, listen, I'm so curious. Like,
this is typically how it would be. This is a little bit of oversimplification, but especially back then, like Blue Note, Prestige Verve, all these like classic recordings, CTI even going up into the 70s. Like the
CTI.
band. Yeah, see that's a whole nother sample world. Freddie Hubbard, George Benson.
Yeah.
Oh,
but typically, like you'd come in with the tunes, and you might have a tune that somebody else in the band wrote, but just they wrote it. You bring it in, you either teach it, or there's a lead sheet, or you've been playing it on the road, but it's one person. And then everybody might contribute to it, but there's no like, where's the line between, like if you're just adding some parts and some solos and some little, finger things or whatever, that's never going to rise to the level of part of the tune. It probably should though.
But here's the thing: I think that's been my experience too, and I understand that is the case for the most part. That is the established way that it is. But it also comes from an era of two things. One, there wasn't any revenue to be made if you're a performing musician.
Right.
If you're a jazz performing musician, you didn't really think necessarily beyond the next gig, or the next gig meaning live performance on stage at Birdland or whatever, or the next time you got hired to record. So you're motivated by two things: not rocking the boat, so you get the next gig, and not necessarily being educated, because I had a publishing deal for at least 2 years before I understood what it was.
Yeah.
Publishing is complicated.
Yeah.
What the two pies of writing, like writer's share and publisher's share, it's an obtuse, complicated business.
Yep.
And it is easily misunderstood or just never explained, right? So all this to say that I'm glad you guys are buds, and I'm not going to jump in there and screw that up. But I do have strong opinions about what rises to the level of credit as songwriting to me often is based on power dynamics, and I want to get hired again and not be, a problem, not be a diva over here. And it doesn't really reflect the reality that since that norm was established a long time ago in jazz, in Jamaica, in rock, Herbie Flowers famously with like the Lou Reed, right? And the Tribe Called Quest sample that you only hear Herbie Flowers bass line in, but he got paid $50 that day.
Right.
Yeah.
Hip hop didn't exist yet in 1975. All that stuff to me is a big reason why copyright law needs a huge overhaul.
It needs a huge rewrite. And also, to your credit, Blake, I'd always assumed oh man, if I had been alive in the 20s, I would have been on Tin Pan Alley every day. I would have been down there just copywriting my songs. Here's a song about escalators. It's just every day.
They were just invented.
And then my favorite Bob Mr. Show sketch of all time. But Blake unfortunately told me that racism raises its ugly head again. And like a lot of times these black musicians had, they were basically kept out of Tin Pan Alley. So once again, like there were so many barriers, both, mental and institutional that kept these guys from knowing their real worth.
Well, I think like your instinct about just like not wanting to rock the boat, especially during this era of, I mean, these guys were making dozens of albums every year. Like as a sideman, you would go to the studio all the time. For one day, you would make one album. You'd sit in, you'd sometimes not know what you were doing till you got there. They called the tunes, you played the tunes, you got your $50 or $100 or whatever it was going to be. And that was a good day. That's a good living to make, but you're not thinking like, well, I'd also added the
if
intro.
Nas ever samples this.
Yeah.
There's no consideration of that. And just to sort of counter just one last thing, and I'll get off my soapbox about this topic, just to counter the like logical thing I can imagine a listener or a commenter diving in YouTube right now. That's just the way it is, man. That mentality to me is that's not a good enough response.
Agreed.
Like that's just how capitalism works, man. Yeah. Because then don't take the gig. Like it's not an option. When you're a musician, your options for how you get paid are pretty limited.
Already,
your knowledge potentially about the industry, your ability to access a lawyer to vouch for you, all of that is very limited, if it exists at all. So the idea that you could just like not take the gig if what you were offered, the $50 and not a split of the publishing, wasn't good enough, you don't have that choice.
Absolutely. I mean, and think about this. Are we part of the solution or the problem here? Like we're gonna clear rights on all this music when it goes up on YouTube for this episode, and then Idris Muhammad's not going to get any of the.
Oh no, he's not going to get a penny.
Blue Note Records will for sure. Lou Donaldson,
Bobby Gentry's estate will be fine.
Right.
Yeah,
Lou Donaldson's estate maybe through the writing part of it. But Idris
Jimmy Heath, 60% over there, but the rest of the Heaths 0%.
Exactly.
Now that everybody's completely forgotten what the Heath brothers sound like.
let's check back in with the Heath brothers here.
Well, hold on a second. Let's bring in Rick Beato's going to give us a little more information.
Swipes in like.
Oh, it's so great.
There we go.
The vibe.
And
so that's where we left it off. So
and then can you play us the because Redman sampled it very similar to Nas, but I love how he just let the beat completely ride. Like he didn't change it at all.
It's a
It's a play. Nah, motherfuckers. I was flying through the motherfucking sky with
Slow
my
it down.
cup full of life. Baba Z on fire. Code name Beast the Super. Man, cop my Luga. Blast no state trooper. I'm on the run, G. I got these hoes spreading from Japanese to diabetics.
So good.
Stay painted
That's from
because
Redman's
I'm
1996 album Muddy Waters. It's incredible.
Great album.
And then you have one more on here, Diallo, from the same year as Illmatic. You have the Beatnuts, their self-titled album from 1994.
The Beatnuts, very similar to the Alcoholics. They sample another part of the song.
That part you highlighted.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Hey, it's the junkyard nigga. Can you know what I'm about? What? Puffing on a fat one.
The Kalimba.
Sipping on a Guinness Stout. Yeah. There you go.
Oh, so good.
I just love sampling so much. And, you said something that I wanted to call out real quick. I love that people are finding these songs that are not typical of the rest of the jazz artists' catalog.
Yeah.
I like the fact that as much respect as I have for those artists who take something that's obscure, but they're taking the first couple of seconds of the song. There's another song that I wanted to talk about, which is Ahmad Jamal's "I Love Music." This is a 9-minute epic, opus.
That's what we call a typical jazz track.
No, but this is. But this is kind of
it's pre-TikTok.
This is kind of a weird Ahmad Jamal album.
Ahmad,
Awakening is the name of the album. It's amazing, but it's not live at the
This is almost the equivalent
it's not Point Sienna.
of like the Heath Brothers, that record, as opposed to it's almost the same kind of thing.
It's true. But if you'll indulge me, can you play like the first 7 seconds of the very beginning of this song? Because I want people to know that this song starts off one place and you have to go like 5 or 6 minutes into the song before you ever get to the part that we're going to talk about. Could we just hear like the first 7 seconds of the song?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
my mansion throwing a glass of wine at a painting of my father.
It's definitely,
You know,
So specific, Diallo.
was it good enough for you, Dad? Like that's what I want to be doing.
it's the beginning of the film before the credits, and then we find out why he's so pissed off at his father later. For sure, 100%.
The money couldn't fill the hole in his soul.
It never can. It
moments.
never can.
Well, I can get close though.
Let's find out.
It really is just a beautiful, beautiful song. I'm making fun of it right now, but like this song, like when I listen to the whole song, I never get tired of it. It's just a gorgeous. I was on a bike one time in Paris a long time ago, and I had this in my headphones, and I was just like, life doesn't get any better than this. It's just a beautiful, beautiful song. Yeah. But let's skip ahead.
It gets weird.
Oh, it gets very weird.
It gets weird. Here's a little
Pete
weird.
Rock finds something. And that's it. That's all he used. It doesn't repeat. It's not moved. It's like there's nothing there. It's just that little section.
One more time here.
Hip-hop magic.
This might be
Hurl and Riley? Here's another Nas.
Whose world is this?
Again from the old attic.
The world is yours. It's mine, it's mine. Whose world is this? It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. Whose world?
Great use.
I mean, like, just to take just that time, it's like when Daft Punk, when you see how they put together a song like One More Time, like they took just these tiniest little pieces of nothing. And just that's what makes sampling an art form, because really it's such a small part that they technically, I always say, they didn't have to sample it. Like they could have just played it. Probably nobody would have ever drawn a connection. But that's sort of what makes it an art, is that, no, I'm literally, Blake famously, put together Groove is in the Heart by Delight and showed us how that song is entirely, not one musician was brought into the studio to make that song happen. It's all layered samples on samples. And I think that Pete Rock's taking this tiny little piece, that's the genius of great sampling, is that he took that tiny little piece and built something magical off of it.
Yes, absolutely. And most importantly, this was recorded and came out in 1970, same year I was recorded and came out into the world.
Very important. And actually, Caleb, if you could throw up the album cover for this Ahmad Jamal, The Awakening album, it's a beautiful album cover from that era. Yeah. Absolutely gorgeous. Here's another example of, I think this is Pete Rock too, on Busta Rhymes.
I can tell you what the earth weighs.
E.L.E.
Let me
too.
listen to the wind so I can hear the earth, me and the universe speak round, a celebration of my birthday. That being said, we can stop pretending in our mental like all the shit we witnessed be happening coincidental. See, back in 98 when I dropped the first extinction level, I was fighting in the demons with personal scores to settle. They put it in a movie cause they knew that we ain't really know. Funny how they try to tell us 22 years ago it deeply impacted how watching the flick really moved me. As the world was ending, Morgan Freeman was present in the movie. So let's fast forward to 2009. The 2012 movie left an impression on the minds of the people, making sure we remember if we slightly doubted that the world was ending and we can't really do shit about it. Damn.
So this is
wow. By the way, what you're doing live in the studio right there, I'm all for it. It sounds fantastic.
Well,
that's an interpolation. What he's
this
doing
is definitely an interpolation. No, but this is what I just want to give just some shout outs to jazz musicians for what they bring to this party, because
dude, that's what this whole episode's about.
That's what I'm saying, man. Okay. But this is what Ahmad Jamal brings. It's like this beautiful, this beautiful C minor 9 voicing, right? Yeah. And I think he's using this sort of block chord structure where you have the octaves on the outside,
then going up a minor third, right?
I think it's is it's like an minor augmented 6. Thing.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Does that seem right? Like it's or like a B minor major 7 kind of thing?
We just lost all our listeners.
I know.
As soon as you said the name of that chord. Man.
I just want to just shout out that because
we do that all the time. I can't speak those terms. Luxury can speak all of that.
Oh, and I couldn't find those chords. Like that was beyond my chromatic, level, my spiciness.
But that's the kind of thing that I think as jazz musicians, when we hear jazz samples in hip hop, we're like, yes, like that might not happen with just the producer playing piano chords. It's like having this genius Ahmad Jamal, who's so not only comes up with these incredibly creative harmonic devices, but the way he plays them too is like world-class pianist. It's really, I think, brings a special thing to these things. I mean, I know the original recording too, just the way it sounds and everything, but the actual what he's playing is super special.
Yeah, for sure. And so cool that it gets to be like amplified out. And there's, the counter argument to this is like, oh, they're only taking a little. You should listen to the whole 9 minutes. And if, you're on a bike in Paris and you can do that, that's great. But it's also like this sends people back down the rabbit holes. Like, what is that sound? Or they make that connection when they hear the original or they hear Poinciana or something. And we're like, wait, that's that.
No, I love that point. And I'd even point out that if we went back and played the little section that Pete Rock sampled, it's not like he looped it and you can just, put it in the Serato DJ app and loop it. No, like he cut it up. So like he did take a little snippet here, a little snippet here, reverse it, and then he put like an extra note right here so that it would all line up to be 4/4.
Yeah.
But it's yeah.
And I'm gonna do a little hot take here and say that there's a through line to what jazz, especially like coming out of the bebop era. And who was that were famously Roy Hargrove said, hip hop is the grandson and the granddaughter of bebop. Like that's the direct line in there. And but like as jazz musicians, like we're constantly taking little parts when we improvise a solo. That's exactly what we're doing. Like when you're sampling, it's not just like the most unimaginative players, and these people don't get gigs, and we don't even talk to them. They're beneath us. But they'll learn a Charlie Parker solo on a blues and then get up and just play that solo. Nobody wants to hear that, not because it's not a good solo, but you can go hear Charlie Parker on a record, Now you take part of, and no one even wants to hear you play the exact phrase and then your phrase. It's like using your musical taste and taking little bits of that, Miles Davis was the master of that. Like he was basically sampling Clifford Brown and Fats Navarro and Louis Armstrong, all these trumpet players, little phrases, and everyone was like, "Oh, and he was a genius." But it ended up that he played out of a trumpet that hadn't been played before that, for sure.
Yeah, part of this storytelling, it's linked to DJ culture, which we talk about all the time. Is another undersung musicality tradition is DJing. Like so there are people of certain caliber of maybe snobbishness or gatekeepingness that would say, well, DJing's not, you don't know an instrument, whatever. Right. Like, and same with sampling. But in fact, really, what music is intended for is communication and storytelling.
Yeah.
And a lineage, a tradition. And when you're calling attention to things that you like, things that came before you, things that you think other people should seek out.
Yeah.
Little references, little homages. Interpolations and sampling are just part of that larger tradition of musical borrowing, of using what music came before to tell the story you are telling now in your individual way.
I love it.
There's something.
Hold on, I'm borrowing that term, musical borrowing. I'm going to interpolate it. I love that.
Something is sticking out to me with this sample with Busta Rhymes specifically. We don't have to keep this in the show, but what's the Busta Rhymes song that uses the Bernard Herrmann sample from Psycho? The
string thing.
Great one. Yeah,
it's very similar harmonically to what Ahmad Jamal's playing here. It's like almost exactly like this minor 9 to the augmented a half step below. It's like a similar thing that Bernard Herrmann uses in that phrase.
Or one of those Hitchcock movies or something.
I don't know if that's interesting.
Here it is. It's I think that's really. It's give me some more.
Give me some more. That's it. Yeah, incredible. But the strings, it's a similar vibe, which I think is interesting. I think Busta Rhymes just sounds good over these like cinematic, I'm going to throw my scotch into the fireplace kind of vibes.
Hell yeah.
Okay, let's, next one up is, this was really interesting, actually. Diallo, this is another one of yours. This is Young Holt Unlimited.
Unlimited, right.
That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the sample people use. This is Strangers in the Night.
And then it goes into a more traditional
I'll let it play.
Strangers in the Night cover. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the Lambert Airport Holiday Inn. Are we playing at the Wiki Room?
Welcome to the Howard Johnson.
Yeah, Howard Johnson.
Let's hear that intro one more time.
Tiki Torch time.
Yep.
Very cool. Little bell there.
Yeah. Triangle. Isn't it?
Is it triangle?
We could have never known.
So this was sampled into Return of the Crooklyn Dodgers. by a group called Crooklyn Dodgers 95, but this is from a soundtrack to a film.
From Brooklyn, better known as Brooklyn. Never taking shorts cause Brooklyn's the borough. Straight from Brooklyn, better known as Brooklyn. Never taking shorts cause Brooklyn's the borough.
We did it like that and now we do it like this. We did it like that and now we do it like this.
Yeah. Now clock, kids, who got the cocaine? Don't tell me it's the little kids on Soul Train. The metaphor sent from my brain to my jaw. It comes from other places, not the tinted faces. Journalistic values are yellow and then of course falters. You watch channels.
I don't know, man. I think that's a bell. I think
Maybe
it's
it
a
is a bell.
or one of
Maybe
those.
so.
What are those things?
So question here, and Blake, maybe this kind of harkens back to some things you were talking about copyright. So Strangers in the Night, do the songwriters from this get some of that sample? Because there's none of the melody. And whoever the Tin Pan, I don't know who wrote this.
Oh yeah, Strangers in the Night.
This has been happening a lot to me recently. I am finishing a book about musical borrowing, and it is a taxonomy of all the manifestations of it. So there's an interpolation chapter and a sampling and a covers, and it's funny because it keeps happening. Today I'm writing about John Coltrane. Today, after this and before this, I'm writing about my favorite things. I'm writing about the phenomenon of jazz covers. And of course, you mentioned bebop before. Part of the bebop tradition comes out of the recognition that when you do that, you lose all your money.
Yeah.
So let's like flip this one on its head, not use the melody in the head or the solo.
Contrafacts.
And call it something new. Contrafact, exactly right. There's a whole contrafact chapter. But the short answer is, the composers of Strangers in the Night, which I'll look up right now, but it's certainly not the trio of young Holt and such. It's composed by Bert Kaempfert, Charles Singleton, and Eddie Snyder.
Those guys were definitely hanging out on Tin Pan Alley. You know those dudes were.
I mean, that's where the money goes on the compositional publishing side for the original. And if it's cleared properly, which we have to assume at a certain point it was, they would be getting all of that publishing money as well.
Man, I think it's
not the young Holt trio, not the drummer, not the bass player, not the bell player.
It's apparently Frank Sinatra's most commercially successful album of all time.
Wow.
Is the one that produced this one in 1966. So yeah, those estates are probably still just making all kinds of crazy money off
But the
of it.
crazy part is
like,
in terms of like what they sampled, there's none of the melody. There's not even any of the melody. It hasn't gotten to
disconnected.
Any of it.
This brings us to my second term I'm introducing in the book, but I'm throwing out there on our own podcast and your podcast, and just because it's fun to test these words out. But before I mentioned sample phantom, you hear the bass player, but he didn't get paid, right? The opposite of that is who does get paid. I'm calling that a credit ghost.
Yeah, right.
And in this case, the three dudes I just named from the Strangers in the Night original, who wrote that melody and that lyric, once that got transformed by Young Holt Unlimited in 1966 into this jazz odyssey, it still gets baked into the part that was sampled, even though that melody and that lyric isn't in there.
So even the
they
lyricist
are still getting paid.
Even the lyricist.
Even though it's instrumental. That's the same thing that's happening on the Coltrane situation.
Right.
Richard
Rodgers.
Rodgers and Hart.
Right, Rodgers and Hart.
And it's instrumental. So there's no lyrics to speak of. So it's another disconnect in how copyright works.
Yeah.
Is that all the way down the line, all these years later, because of not anticipating the future and then not changing things when the future came. We have these strange disconnects between what you're hearing, who wrote it, who got paid, which part was used.
Well, I'm so glad you're talking about this, and I'm so glad you're writing a book about it, because it is something that we've all just, I think our whole careers have just said, well, this is how it is.
Yeah.
And this is the rules that we have to play by. But you're right, it's archaic the way that we're approaching all of this, and it doesn't make sense in the current way that people make music.
Right.
We have to change it, and just like literally there's SONA, which is the Songwriters Association of North America. I'm not sure if you guys are members. Worth checking it out and perhaps joining. It's technically impossible. Songwriters can't have a union. It's against the law.
Great. That's great.
So there are musicians unions, there's instrumentalist unions, there's studio musicians. But songwriters, that profession is, for reasons historically, there isn't anything where power can be, we can unite and have power to negotiate, basically, right? So this is a group that is trying to empower songwriters, essentially. And it is a stated goal. I'm saying this because I just got off the phone with, if you don't know his podcast, Ross Golan has a great show called And the Writer Is, and he's giving the keynote. And he and I just had a really long conversation where it's like, we need to like we need to start advocating for change, basically.
Yeah.
We're all tired of these stupid rules. It's just the way it is. Hey, you got your $50 on the day.
Totally. Yeah.
Sorry you died broke. Sorry you couldn't pay your medical bills. The number of drummer biographies on Wikipedia who got sampled that I read and then they died at 41. Like, come on.
Right.
You know, let's get these guys paid. Let's get them health insurance. Anyway, all this, that's, I said I'd get off my soapbox.
No.
It's so
Stay on.
important.
Stay on.
And actually, I just remember the Idris Lou Donaldson thing. Lou Donaldson, Blue Note. Shout out Bruce Lundvall, who was the president and the head of Blue Note Records for a long time. Great guy. But I remember, and I don't want to speak too much out of turn, but I know that some form of this happened. Like they actually got Idris funneled a lot of that sample royalty as it came in. And Blue Note, of course, really worked hard at that. And Lou Donaldson authorized that too. So that was the rare occasion, not because they had to.
That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Was that on the master's side, like as opposed to the publishing side, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
That's great.
I think so.
That's an option.
But Lou Donaldson was one of the funniest guys ever. Jazz. He used to always make jokes about, like hip hop, bebop. He had a real high voice, and he'd be like, I don't know what, I never respected that until I started getting them checks, and then I respected. He had a whole shtick that he did about that.
But Luxury, to your point, if musicians are reliant on the benevolence of record labels to make their living,
when did that ever work
never
out?
gonna. It's good that Blue Note did that, but it's not something to build a career on.
No.
Let's move it along here. Diallo, you threw this in sort of here in the last bit before we started, but I really enjoyed this idea. So we mentioned Bob James at the start, most sampled musician, jazz
according
musician in history.
I don't know, ChatGPT or something.
Okay, good, Peter, good. So Diallo, you brought up Westchester Lady. Come on. Bob James 3.
Yeah.
Looks a lot like a Pink Floyd album cover, by the way. So what is it about this? Where else can we find this?
Well, let me just say real quick. Yes, I think that Bob James is like one of my favorites. Anytime you put on a Bob James record, you always hear just an avalanche of sampled parts from other songs. And you're just like, oh, I know that. Oh, I know that one. I know that one. And I did admittedly, this is not a flex, but on the way here to my laptop desk, I texted Patrice Rushen, who's been on our show.
Yes.
Drop that name there. You might look on the floor.
Yeah, I did. And I did ask her, I was like, hey, Bob James, like, my father was really into bebop. My dad was really a bebop guy. And I remember, like, I feel like he did not dig the Bob James sound. Like to him, that was like sort of like easy listening jazz or something like that.
Jazz.
Yeah. And I did ask her, I did text and ask her, like, hey, what did like the black jazz musicians of that time, like, what did the George Bensons and the Roy Ayerses and what was their impression of Bob? Did they think he was cool? Did they think he was like easy listening and corny? Like, what was the take? And I did not know at the time that you guys had played with all the illustrious people you played with. Have you ever heard that about Bob's reputation? Like, is Bob like, was Bob at the time considered corny, or was he always thought of as like?
Wait, what did Patrice say? I'm dying to know. How did she respond?
Yeah. I totally want to know it.
She has not written back yet.
Honestly, I've heard nothing but love for Bob James.
Yeah, first of all,
every circle.
Bob James is one of the nicest, most humble, sweetest guys ever. And I met him when I was actually a teenager. He was super nice to me, and even kind of seemed like he pretended to remember me the next time I saw him. And so I'm a little bit clouded judgment, but I think like the people you're talking about, Roy Ayers, like really like sort of Grover Washington Jr. I think that
Donald Byrd.
I think they all really liked him. And I don't think there was like a corny, like, I think that there was the more hardcore jazzers that as they got into the 70s were like, y'all stole our music and we can't get any gigs because, and it was really, I was joking, smooth jazz. I don't think that term was even happening yet then, like in the 70s.
No, definitely not.
But I think like whatever fusion and groovy jazz, Wayne Shorter, Joe Zawinul, that whole Jaco Pastorius. I mean, like jazz adjacent, whatever was happening to them, like Bob James was right in the middle of that. And he was great.
I love that.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that there was always like, and Herbie, I know him and Herbie have always been tight, and Chick Corea. I think that there's always this backlash to any of the successful jazz. And look, most of the times they're pianists or keyboardists that sell out and go Hollywood. I mean, this came against Herbie for sure. Once you have a hit, Bob James wrote the theme to MASH. He did a bunch of TV stuff.
No, he didn't. He wrote the theme to Taxi.
Taxi, that too. Who wrote MASH?
Taxi, there you go.
MASH is good too.
The Suicide is Painless was...
No, that's Bob James, man.
That's not Bob James.
Come on, it's Bob James.
Okay.
Anyway, TBD.
No one will put it in the comments, so we don't have to worry about our listeners.
Johnny Mandel. Who was the Bob James of that period?
A great spin on that. Bob James, by the way, he put out I had to just check this, but he put out a killin' Tiny Desk last year.
Yes.
Like he's still making good.
Bob James
he sounds great.
I love that.
Yeah.
And
I love it. Listen. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say also, he's always had a little bit of a sideline career. I mean, Billy Kilson was a good friend for many years. I mean, I played with him since the early 90s. Has kind of always been his go-to guy when he wants to do a jazz trio. He'll go do a little tour in Europe, like just playing straight ahead. So he's got the chops and the lineage coming from that. But I mean, I think that whatever, especially by the late 80s, getting to the 90s, once he had Foreplay, and it probably got into a smoother kind of situation. I think he definitely got caught up a little bit in that smooth, Lee Ritenour, that whole, and when Wynton Marsalis was kind of come along and being like, everything needs to be acoustic.
I think the jazz puritanism of that mid-90s has eroded, and I think everybody's sort of embracing the smoothness of the era that we're discussing here with Bob James at this point in jazz history, because it's, I mean, all the kids that's what the kids sound like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I love, like, hip-hop didn't give a shit. They're just like, I like that.
Yeah,
what can I do with this?
I mean,
Bob James has a lot of hip hop to thank for his resurgence and his career being this long. Like, he may have flamed out much earlier had it not been for his music being rediscovered and put in some seminal recordings, to the point where at the Mardi Gras, Take Me to the Mardi Gras, right? Ding, 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 ding. That is the sound of hip hop. Just the ba-da-boom. Either just the fill. If you use that now, or we did an episode on Missy Elliott, Work It, right? Which famously, the very end of it's kind of a coda. You hear, interestingly, an embedded sample of Take Me to the Mardi Gras, because it's the Run DMC sample of it. They didn't have to do that. They could have gone straight to the source, but it kind of gave it, the song was intended to be a throwback kind of old school OG hip hop love letter.
Yeah.
Right? So in that usage, there's reverence to the history of hip hop, which includes this Bob James sample, which incidentally is a cover of a Paul Simon song.
Right.
So Bob James doesn't get any publishing.
Paul Simon's making
when that
bank.
gets reused.
That's right.
Yeah.
Finally, Paul Simon.
Paul's getting some recognition and some money.
Yeah, finally.
Hey, watch this. Watch me tie it into what Blake just said, because Blake said that Missy sampled the Peter Piper,
right?
Run DMC version, not technically the Bob James version. And similarly here, PinkPanthress is an artist who I am a big fan of. I think she's very exciting. To speak of what the kids are into. I really like her music. So there's a line you can draw from Westchester Lady, which we just heard, to a seminal drum and bass track that was huge in England called Circles. And this is by an artist named Adam F. Can we hear a little bit of that? Samples of Bob James.
Go up to the ninth.
Here we go. You might skip it ahead just a little bit so we can hear a little bit more of the Westchester, just a little bit. I had it queued up in mind.
Sorry. We can.
Here we go. Is that the? Here,
what's the cue number? I don't have it.
Go to the 40. Go to the 43-second mark.
Gotcha.
If you can find that. There we go.
I love that halftime.
So this song was like huge in the UK, and PinkPanthress has sort of made it a point to sample, artists like Underworld and Basement Jaxx and some of these, like sort of 2000s British electronic artists, because that's when she was young.
That's great.
That's the music that she was growing up with. And so then she takes this Adam F. Circles song, which sampled the Westchester Lady, and then she turns in a song that I love called Break It Off. and you'll hear what she does with it. Right, just adding some vocals.
No one ever saw me cry until I left the party the other night. Do you remember all the things that he said to me? That came out of his mouth automatically. That I'm so used to saying, I'm fine. And something that you did to hurt me last year.
I can't tell you how happy this makes me. So my 15-year-old daughter, who really is at the stage where she turns up her nose to anything I like, just asked me to take her to a PinkPanthress concert, her and her friend. And knowing, and I don't really know PinkPanthress yet, but knowing that there's some,
she's great. Checking out.
There's some Bob James, there's some Basement Jacks going on, makes me very, very happy for my daughter that she gets.
Listen, her new album is called Fancy That. There's a song on it called Illegal, which blew up on TikTok. If you hear it, you might recognize it. I find that even my friends who aren't buried in new music nowadays will be like, oh yeah, I've heard that song sort of around. Fancy That is the name of the album. I hit up my friend Junior Sanchez, who's worked with Basement Jacks in the past. I was like, guys, there are no less than 4 Basement Jack samples on this album. And that's not even counting when she samples MJ Cole and some of these other UK garage artists. But she's, we're 20 years past the early 2000s, sadly. And so now that generation that grew up on that music is resampling the first generation of Coachella artists, I think you could call it. And she does it so well. I'm forgetting the name of her co-producer, but I think PinkPanthress is doing it really well. And for those who want to hear some new music at a very fast clip, but really fun music that sounds like it's got some life in it, Fancy That is the name of her album.
And I'm just laughing because here's another opportunity. It really is the last 30 days, and then I turn the manuscript in, and it's 4 years now, right? Yeah. So now it's my chance to sort of test the waters with a couple of concepts that I'm not sure are going to fly. So here it is. I'm calling that musical dendrochronology. Excuse me. Fuck, I fucked it up already. Musical dendrochronology. In other words, it's like the tree rings, right?
Yeah.
You take a slice, and inside of any song, of any musical moment, you're going to find something connected to the previous thing, built on the previous thing, built on the previous thing. And what's so cool now for hip hop fans is we're kind of at least at the third level. This is sort of the third era. Yeah. There was the original, the OG. Then they started to sample some of the samples. Now we're starting to get some samples and references to the samples, which themselves came from the jazz, the original sources.
Yeah.
And that's awesome to me because this is just the literalization, because it's recordings of something that was already happened in all of the other music with interpolations and references. The history of music is this has already been happening, but it's not a recording, so you can kind of hide it, or it can be more subtle, or it can be, modified or altered slightly. Yeah. But in recording, we're living in a cool moment where we're having this new layer that's starting to emerge.
One could almost say the whole history of pop music was interpolation until
soft. That's right. Like sort of softer, folded in, right. So it was not as noticeable. Right.
Not as obvious. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean in jazz, because jazz just happened, or maybe because of sort of the beginnings of jazz as we know it were right when recording technology was happening. You're talking about the 20s, a little bit before.
We can track the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly, the whole thing. And there's more of those circles in that tree, but they're still always coming back around. And now with the hip hop, well, not now, I mean for 30 years now or whatever more, with the hip hop sampling of these jazz tracks, that's disrupted the jazz tree, I would say, in a beautiful way. You know what I mean? And has brought, is Bob James doing a Tiny Desk at age 86 or whatever last year? Had he not been sampled all over the place? He's still the same composer and player, but
right.
Yeah.
But it's funny you said that because I was just talking to a friend of mine who's a producer about the grain, basically, the sound of earlier recordings, right? Which we can track eras with our ears based on, we can kind of tell when something was made, basically.
Yeah.
From 1925, whenever, 30s, the earliest cylinders and whatever, Her Majesty's voice, up until kind of the 90s, it starts to fall off. It's clean enough.
Pro Tools.
It's digital enough that anything from the mid 90s till now, you can kind of fake another era. You can either fake another era or you can pick and choose from other eras what you want your song to evoke, right?
Yeah.
But for jazz music, I was just thinking about this. It's harder for me to want to listen to jazz post-fusion because I like the grain. I like the 50s jazz sounding like this, and then the bossa nova 60s sounds a little like this.
Yeah.
And it's some of the constraints of the technology and some of the instrument choices. I like that you can map what you're hearing to when it was and maybe even where it was.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't really do that with modern jazz anymore because it's too clean.
Right.
And I'm just so used to jazz having that older sound, that era connected sound.
I mean, for me, I would even flip that to rock and roll. Like I love 70s rock and roll specifically. And I think it's because of the sound of the kick drum. And I just don't get that. Like I grew up in the 90s, so I love that. But like my heart is really in that 70s. But I hear what you're saying. There is that, we can hear the era that it's from.
I mean, we did that. We did Fleetwood Mac Rumors a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, I forgot how great that record and like the drumming. But then when we're like really analyzing the drummer, I'm like, actually the drumming is not that great. It's like the shuffle and stuff.
Simple.
The sound,
it's just dry.
but it's so authentic. Yeah. And that bass, that kick drum, and that authenticity and connection. It's. Yeah. Okay, boomers.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
I got a fairly boomer pick here. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say one last thing to connect to what you were saying, which is that you're also tapping into another element of why we like stuff, which is the nostalgia, which is the when we heard it first. Sure. And when we heard it first, especially if we were 13 or younger, is going to evoke so much like stuff that you can't put your finger on because it's vague and you didn't know what the world was as much.
100%.
And it's going to have that much more power when you hear it later because it's going to unlock this sort of Proustian Madeleine of experience that you are going to probably explore your whole life, right?
Yep.
The rest of your life's a little bit like figuring out what was 13 and earlier.
Yeah.
To a degree. Yeah.
So we peak at 13 in terms of our life. It's all calling back after that.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Everything's so damn romantic back then. Speaking of, I was about 13, I think, when this next album came out. This is Tribe Called Quest, Electric Relaxation.
Oh.
Where would we be without Q-Tip, man? We've been talking a lot about Q-Tip lately.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we knew back in the 90s how much he was producing.
Yeah.
I think back then I would have assumed that it was Ali Shaheed Muhammad who did all the Tribe Called Quest stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he did a song for Nas, but like there's so much he did.
Yeah.
He did the original Crooklyn Dodgers for the, we just played the return of a little bit earlier. He did the original. So he was so much more prolific than we knew.
Yeah. And I believe I might be screwing this thing up, but I mean, it would map for sure the Q-Tip because he's right around, I think he was born like 70, 71. He's right around my age. But I think he had a parent, maybe his mom or something, that was listening to a lot of like kind of soul jazz stuff, a lot of the Blue Note stuff, a lot of that like same kind of thing come up. I think he talked about that.
Well, that factors right into the samples. So that the little piano that starts the track is from Ramsey Lewis.
The great Chicago's finest.
A track called Dreams. Another very weird, atypical.
Totally atypical Ramsey.
Oh, this is that Earth, Wind, and Fire track I was just talking about. This is Maurice White is on this.
Oh, wow.
That's right. Played drums on this, right?
Like,
actually,
I'm just looking it up. He may not be on this song, but he was in Ramsey. He had already left. My bad. By 73, he'd already formed Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Drummer Jason Marsalis just made a whole post about Maurice White in Ramsey Lewis's band, and he was like hanging out with Ellis Marsalis.
I had no idea.
So that's that piano sound. But the main chunk of the sample here is from Ronnie Foster's Mystic Brew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the great bass lines of all time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Totally. That is the definition of vibes right there.
That's
right.
Good vibes.
It's vibes and vibes providing vibes.
Literally vibes. And then the drums from the Tribe track are from, I did not know this, but this is a band called Brethren. This is a track called Outside Love. I've never heard of this. It's from 1970, but this is absolutely smoking. Speaking of kick drums.
So Meters.
Who is this?
So New Orleans.
Brethren.
They're from New Orleans?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that beat and that vibe.
I was just thinking the meters. Yeah. I'm like, this band has checked out the meters for sure.
Yeah.
And you put it all together back again.
Oh. Man. such an interesting thing because, like, for me, it would be so much easier to, like, I can hear all these different parts, how they could fit together to be something dope. But I would just be like, let's just all get in the studio. Like, okay, check out this drum part, play this. Like that's the jazz musician's approach to it. Like, it's almost harder. Well, I mean, because I have, you know what I'm saying? Like to
Peter,
take those
what you
and
do
put
is
them
pretty fucking hard,
no,
dude.
but I'm saying, like, well, it's harder to, like, not make a hit as a jazz musician. I see that's why we're doing 9-minute tracks.
It's easy to not make a
9
hit.
minutes of going nowhere fast. You know?
Right. You're sort of, I think the implicit question sometimes that people ask a lot of times in our comments is like, why sample? Why not just remake it? Why not just be creative? Which is sometimes a case of turn in that direction.
Yeah.
And we want to like shut that down right away. I mean, I think we can all agree that this is incredibly creative.
Exactly.
Sampling.
100%.
And just before, because y'all and I are probably both thinking this, we did do an entire episode on this song of our show, One Song. So go check it out.
Yes,
because
we'll
you
link
made it
to that.
this far into this podcast. You're almost done. Go listen to ours after. But we broke down and recreated those samples. So we found exactly how they did it. And you can sort of listen and, you know, sort of.
And it's really twisted. I mean, like it goes so much
version,
deeper than just even sampling it. The manipulations that they had to do to get there.
Well,
That's
this is 1992 technology. It's pre
It's not like
Ableton and splice loops, right? So it's Bob Power, who was the engineer on that session, was helpful in making happen the vision. But just to land the plane on what I just said, I think to your question, Peter, about like or not your question, but like here's how I would do this.
Yeah.
And as a musician with access to a studio and musicians, you might correctly think this is a way to get a similar thing done. My quick thought I just wanted to add, going back to our grain conversation, right, is the sound matters a lot. And the specific sound of something sampled has meaning to it. It has referential meaning. It has personal meaning because in this case, right, we were just talking about how Q-Tip, it was in his, maybe dad's or mom's record collection.
Yeah.
So there's this childhood association of literally how that vibe recording sounded of that snippet. So I think just sort of to anyone probably listening to your show is not in this camp, but for anyone who's like, why? That's so complicated to use samples. Why not just play it yourself? Part of the answer lies in that the sonic quality is different and the meaning is different when you use a sample. You have these other aspects beyond just the notes, beyond just playing the parts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, to me, it's like, with visual arts, you could have different, your painting, your watercoloring, your drawing, like these are like different mediums, different ways of being creative. And they each have their, like we always talk about restricted practices, but like constrictions to how you're going to create. And so the level of creativity you have to have when you're taking different samples, you have to use your creative mind to think of what it can be when combined with something else, as opposed, like as pianists, we always think, we can be the orchestra because we've got the widest range. We can play big chords. If you're a trumpet, you can only play one note, so you got to get some other people together, whatever. But the reality is like when we arrange something for an orchestra, you have to use you have to imagine what it could be and then have actual other people do that.
You are thinking about that. You're thinking tessitura and you're thinking of timbre, right? But those words also apply to sampling.
Yeah.
Those are words from the orchestra and from the classical tradition, maybe in the jazz tradition, but they're important too. Who is playing what sound in what register at what part? Is it doubled? Is it tripled? Is it harmonized? Is it unison? Is it whatever? All of that compositional arrangement stuff is also part of the sampling tradition and choices that are made. What to sample, how to transform it. And just one more thing, because we were talking about the sample it's the sample phantom thing applying to what you were just saying. On the episode, you'll hear us talk about this, but like here's just a really brief kind of fun thing to think about is think about the band playing this song. It's drummer Rick Marotta from Brethren, right? You're hearing drummer Rick Marotta. You're hearing bass player, I believe it's Gordon Edwards. There's also a double bass. There's a electric and double bass. George Duvivier. I won't name all of them, but it's fun to think about.
Duvivier was an amazing classic. He actually played with like Art Tatum back in the 30s, I think.
Wow.
Incredible.
Wow. Yeah, he's on this one too.
That's crazy.
Those vibes that are so prominent are George Devins. And interestingly, not Ronnie Foster. He played organ, but not on that fragment that's reused. But he's 50% of the publishing on Tribe's song because he's the sole songwriter of the original.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, that's so great.
Well, guys, the time has come.
I know it's
Us four will now be listening to.
Blake is going. Luxury's going from like one of the peak of like explanation here. He's about to pull it all down, or maybe not.
I'm gonna mute the audio for the next 30
Us
seconds.
four will be listening to Luxury's clip. Us three, Cantaloupe Flip.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we have something special down here at Birdland this evening. A recording for Blue Note Records.
Pee Wee Marquette.
I'm just picturing the Kenan Thompson. No! No!
Oh, come on.
I was just thinking, like, see what Blue can do for you. It's just been used in so many.
Bitty bitty bop and funky
fair.
funky.
Cialis.
Did we hear the bitty bitty?
Only take two at a time. Enjoy your
I don't know if
middle-aged wife.
I might have been shouting over it, and I apologize, but the most offensive parts of the song are the bitty bitty bop and the funky funky. I can't tolerate those.
We're gonna get to the funky in just a second, but I didn't even include the sample from the Art Blakey "A Night at Birdland," which has the introductory monologue from Pee Wee Marquette, who would introduce
legendary
bands,
jazz radio host.
Friday and Saturday nights at Birdland on 52nd Street would introduce bands.
That's the only thing authentic. Is that introduction on this? The rest of it.
I didn't pull the original because it's literally unchanged from what they
it's
played
exactly
at all. I don't know if there's a word for that, Luxury, in your upcoming book, but like just using exactly without anything else added to it. But that's what's going on.
They just sampled it wholesale, like MC Hammer Can't Touch This style. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Like just
Yes.
the loop untransformed.
No, but I mean just
the opposite of what we just heard on A Tribe Called Quest.
Exactly.
Right, but it's also not melodic or like what is that when you're sampling when you're just taking somebody talking, right? And there's no.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
And no musical accompaniment.
I mean, are you saying like from a copyright standpoint, you could make the case that it's, I don't know, man. You probably have to pay for it no matter what.
Right.
Even
Blue
though
Note
you're
Records
not
is
hearing any
getting
of the
some.
song it's part of, right?
Yeah.
It
Can I-
depends on who
I
your
just want to
lawyer is and
point
who
out-
their lawyer is. Maybe if they're friends, they can make a deal between the two of them.
Yeah.
I was just going to point out real quick that because I'll still always maintain that there's nothing. I think where this song probably falls short is the lyrics, because I don't think musically it's that bad. I think you said you have a problem with bitty bitty bop and funky funky, which I can promise you that was not necessarily the soundtrack to my drives as a teenager. But I think that look, we were just talking about Tribe Called Quest and the genius of Q-Tip. I will maintain that if you'd had Butterfly from Diggable Planets or Guru from Gangstar or a more capable MC, this could have been a really interesting track. And one of my all-time favorite samples is Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. We were just talking about Q-Tip sampling. He samples a song.
It's that da 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 da. Yeah, Q-Tip sampled that in something, I think.
Yes, you're right. Oh, that's actually not the song. I was going to say that my favorite, A Chant for Blue, A Chant for Boo. A Chant for Boo. Can somebody just play the first part of A Chant for Boo?
And that was Art Blakey's nickname, Boo.
This is Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers.
Yeah.
Check this out.
Art Blakey's nickname was Boo. Yeah.
See, that's good.
But you see what I mean? Like, all the parts and pieces for Genius. By the way, A Chant for Boo is just, that might be in my top 5 top jazz samples of all time. All the greatness was there. And correct me if I'm wrong, the whole point of this was for Blue Note to be like, hey guys, come to us. We've got all the jazz samples.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Well, build off of this, but
it's just, you already nailed it. It's just insufficiently transformed to me. And it's sort of a hack job. Listen, I didn't know much about it.
Name the MC. Name this MC. I think his name is Rasheen or something like that.
Was he from London?
And the guys from us three are British. They're British producers.
Yeah.
There you go.
They should have gotten some New York guys on the scene to
if we had gotten Premier or Q-Tip or anybody else had flipped the sample, because you're right, what a great opportunity.
Flipped Fantasia, I agree.
They opened the catalog to say, listen, it's like they do this now with writers camps, right? Like Primary Wave will gather a whole bunch of people, songwriters, and say, use our catalog, interpolate these old hits, make a new hit with something familiar. that's what they were doing, which is great. It's very embracing of sampling. I'm just saying in this case, no shade to Jeff Wilkinson from London and his production partner, Mel Simpson, who I know nothing about aside from them being Us Three's production team.
Yeah.
And, it's a little bit, to my ears, it's not the pinnacle of hip hop production. That's all I'll say.
It's sanitized. It's pop hip hop. I mean, it's like
there you
that.
go. It's sanitized.
For people who don't know the story, so Us Three is the first hip hop act signed to Blue Note Records with this idea: use our catalog for the samples. And we haven't played it yet. So the name of the track,
which is silly though. It's not like they couldn't have used. I mean, anybody can record Cantaloupe.
It's all silly. But the name of the Us Three track is Cantaloupe Flip, and we haven't played it yet. But of course, this is from the Blue Note. Recording from Herbie Hancock's Empyrean Isles, Cantaloupe Island.
Which is groovy as hell.
Yeah.
Freddie Hubbard on trumpet.
It has a pocket.
By the way,
they should have sampled Freddie on that.
Groovy as hell, but Herbie's trying to make something very commercial in this time. He's writing this, and using it in commercials as well.
This was groovy jazz.
For sure.
It's like a bossa. It's more of a bossa inspired.
Yes,
it's not swinging. It's literally straight 8 notes, right?
Yep.
So there's no swinging in terms of the jazz use of that word, but it swings because of the drumming and the performances.
Right.
But that is all gridded out in a pre-Pro Tools way.
Yeah.
To me, in the Flip Fantasia version, it's just sort of strict.
So we're about to hear the funky.
Okay, so I've been trying to defend this song.
What's
that? Baby Bop. It sounds like that guy from Battlestar Galactica, the robot. Or was that?
Yeah.
That was no, that's Buck Rogers.
No, you're right. Is that Battlestar Galactica? Right. Meanie.
No, okay. Now I'm going to throw him under the bus because I do remember me and my hip hop friends, because that is definitely how we were self-identifying by 92, 93.
Yeah.
We would laugh out loud at groovy, jazzy, funky, bounce, dance as we.
Yeah.
Like we thought that shit was hilariously hack bad shit.
Yeah.
So you know what? I've been trying to defend it.
It's like when I say 6'7" in front of my kids.
You're no longer defending it.
They don't. When I say 6'7" in front of my teenagers,
you're taking your hat out of the ring.
6'7".
Well,
yeah,
look,
exactly.
I'm going to take it to a different level of breaking this down.
Hold on, before we do this, I just want to get to the funky real quick, because maybe the best sample that is not, it's only used for the vocals is Lou Donaldson.
Yeah. What's that? You remember Funky
Oh,
Mama?
right.
Yeah.
This is Lou Donaldson. Everything I do gonna be funky.
Oh, this is killing.
Boogaloo. Yeah. Midnight Creeper. Yeah.
All the yas, they're used in Cantaloupe.
You know why I do that?
Why?
Because everything I play gonna be funky.
Woo!
And this track is
what
sick.
I want
It was bad
in my
timing.
life.
It was bad
This is
timing.
what I want in my life.
And he wasn't
Bad time,
lying.
I've always-
He said everything's going to be
This was
funky.
not improved upon.
And then everything he
it wasn't.
played was funky.
Yeah.
But you know,
And
I
he
think
only
that's
said
part
it
of the
once. It
problem.
was the replicate. It was the funky part. that
No,
was like,
I'll take it. No, I don't think it was just even the repetition. I actually believe that for a large portion of my teenage and 20 years, just the word funky was the lamest, corniest word in the English. Like nobody ever was like, "Oh, that's funky." Like you couldn't say it with a straight face. I don't know that I still can. So no, it was bad timing. It was like, no.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say on the not to go back to the Us Three. Is it US Three or Us Three?
That's got to be Us Three,
Yeah.
right?
So
I think it might be Use. I think it's the three.
Use, like
Use
Use guys?
backwards.
Use.
Well, it says
Yeah.
the name was inspired by Us Three, a Horace Parlan album from the founder of Blue Note.
That-
So-
that's-
Horace
I now know too
Parlan.
much about
They
them. I
went
know-
deep on the
That's-
Horace.
More than
that's
I've
a
ever
deep
wanted to
cut.
know.
Yeah. Wow.
But one thing is they screw up the melody too. So it's bo-doo, bo-doo-da-dee, bo-doo-be-boo-da.
Yeah.
And then it goes down to here. Boo-doo-be-be, boo-doo-way. They do that, which is like obvious, like that's the equivalent of the funky.
That's amateur
funky.
hour right there. That's amateur
It
shit.
is.
Yeah.
Because the melody is
It
Herbie
goes-
plays that clashing. That's part of the vibe of the tune. Like they sanitized the melody even.
They did.
They didn't have to. They're on Blue Note Records. They got
put
the
it-
publishing clear.
They put it into the Berkeley chord scale theory, and
Wait, I hadn't
and out
noticed that
came-
before. Can you play that? Can you play that section of how it was?
Yeah.
So
sampled?
if you're listening to
In the
beginner
in the
musicians
sample?
play this at a jam session, they're going to play it like this.
Yeah.
Play the- And also how you Cantaloupe people have it.
That's all right. I mean, they're kind of on the wrong tone.
Good.
We're still on the one chord, the F. Then it
The
goes.
D flat 7.
Herbie. It's same melody.
That's the Herbie version.
That's the Herbie
amateur
version. But
Okay,
they go,
right.
but
They don't change the melody.
They put a blue note on it.
I see.
Yeah,
I
that's
see.
the funky.
They moved to the second chord.
Yes.
Is what is
yeah.
right.
And the
Okay.
whole fun thing, Herbie's stuff is always a little, and it's just kind of like, you're literally like, oh, let's wash off what's the British accent? No, that'll be taking it too far. But, they're washing it off in a way.
By the way, they do that. So Us 3 does that too? Us 3 makes that, changes the note?
Let's check it out.
Because they're not sample. The trumpet's not sample on here. Somebody's playing it. That's not Freddie.
Oh, got it.
They didn't sample Freddie Hubbard. I don't think. Let me hear it.
It might just be a cheap Korg Triton or keyboard.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty real for 1992.
What's that?
That's C flat.
That's not the original.
I'm just now realizing that people
Got
that
it.
do this
I never noticed that.
probably know
Learned
this
it from
song
this.
from the Cantaloupe flip.
Yeah.
And not from the original.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They would
so
be-
they're playing the wrong version.
Yeah, anybody like in their mid to low
Interesting.
40s, later 40s.
Feel called out.
Did you play it that way?
No, of course not.
I mean, that's just a stupid thing, whatever. But I think it does go along the lines with everything is just. But I do remember around this time being like people, like this was a hit, wasn't it?
Number 7 on the Billboard.
Damn.
100, yeah.
Man, there's no
Was it a
accounting
hit?
for bad taste. But I mean, it's like there was, I remember a lot of people were excited about this. Ooh, this is jazzy because it says jazzy, funky, lame, whatever. But I was like, that's Herbie Hancock. That's my hero. I know Herbie.
That's true.
There was a certain amount in the jazz world of us really being excited. This is the closest during that
Yeah,
period.
I remember that.
Fair
I
enough.
remember the
Yeah.
jazz artists feeling like, hey, this is cool because because you got to remember, you place it in its historical context. There was all this conversation. Even James Brown got in on it, like, hey, if you're going to sample me, just keep it clean, brothers. You know what I mean? Like there was no cursing. There was no cursing in Cantaloupe. You
Right.
know what I mean? So like it was almost like jazz musicians taking the power back almost from these, raunchy rappers.
Right.
So yeah, it all played into it.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
Ron
right, I'm just
Carter.
looking it up. It's Gerard Presencer replayed that sax line in the Us 3 version.
Okay.
I just found that out. So you're right. It's replayed
Yeah.
by a guy who played it wrong.
Yeah. And I mean Ron Carter, famously great bassist, when he went on the Tribe, was that on Marauders or was that on something?
That was on the other one from that era.
Ron Carter on the bass. That was Q-Tip on there calling him out. But he wasn't going to do the record because he's like, I'm not going on.
And my man came by the studio, and his name is Busta Rhymes. In effect, Shaheed is in effect.
This is just with Ron Carter and the vocals.
Check it out and give me my.
That's Ron Carter.
Yeah, you're right. It's the low end theory.
Low end theory. Thank you.
Promoter.
Thank you.
Low end theory.
But like that's Ron playing on it. When they first called him, they're like, "No, I don't do hip hop because I don't agree with cursing." And they had to promise him there'd be no cursing in that
Verses from the abstract.
And that's part of the reason
You
too. I
know-
think they're calling him out so much. Thank you, Ron Carter. They do all that. Like, thank you for coming, showing up.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that I tried to play, speak of the devils, I tried to play the Beatnuts from my father because it was so jazz sampled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, Dad, you'll like this because this samples all your favorite jazz records. I put it on. I don't think he got past the first chorus, but he's like, man, because he didn't like the cursing. He didn't like the imagery that they were provoking. So again, we look back now and like everybody seems so innocent because, but it was that language did not fly with guys born during the Great Depression.
Right.
I'll put it like that.
Exactly.
Well, Luxury and Diallo from One Song, thank you guys for spending this time. You've been so generous with your time and with your incredible knowledge. It's been just a blast to talk to you.
Yeah. And
so much fun.
This is awesome. We got to do it again. And everybody go check out One Song. It's literally the opposite of 40 songs that we're doing today. Like what they do over there.
No, we do the same thing on our show.
Okay.
We start with one and then we just lots of rabbit holes and connections. It's fun.
Yeah.
We will link to your episode on electric relaxation so the folks can check it out.
And we're going to also link to the one with Patrice Rushen because I saw that is incredible. Patrice Rushen, the way you guys... I mean, she's such a insider pick, but it was just so.
And if you could put in a good word too, we'd love to.
Yeah, if she texts you back, tell her we said hey.
She always texts me back. She's one of these people. She will always text back. Eventually, she might be on a plane somewhere.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it in the comments of this video what she said.
Okay,
that's
awesome.
great. Thank you guys. Cool. Well, until next time.